saying, so for the Liverpool thing, it's not been long enough to consider him like as a great. I don't believe anyway, personally.
Yeah,
I agree. You can't put Virgil Van Dijk in the hat. Yeah, like I was looking at his accolades he won last year, and he's won nearly everything. You know, PFA Player of the Year, he was in UEFA Teams of the Year, everything. I mean, he's had individually. You take that season on its own, it's probably the best season the centre backs had in England, just from the accolades being given to him personally and what we've seen. But he's still done it 1 year. Rio Ferdinand, 19 years in the Prem. John Terry, 19 years. You know, Sol Campbell, about 17 years. Tony Adams, about 18, 19 years. And this guy's done one, 2 seasons, and people are saying he's the best ever. Yeah. Come on.
Did any of them get nominated for a Ballon d'Or?
Yes, what's happening, people? It's Semps, and we are back again for another episode of Everyone's a Pundit. This is number 33. It's been a while, but as you can see, we're in the new internet settings, quarantine, lockdown entertainment coming your way. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Please, when you watch, give us a like as well. The likes do help us grow. And if you like listening on the audio, you can catch us on Spotify, SoundCloud, soon to be Apple as well, Views Football Podcast. And you can follow us on the social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Views TV Official. I'm going to introduce my guests. We've got 3 new guests for you today. And this episode was litty. I can't lie, boy. You won't be disappointed. Michael, Richard, Liam for Beer Culture London. We all go at it. We did have a slight technical issue, so I'm trying my hardest to get part 2 out. But nonetheless, I'm hitting you with part 1. It's enjoyable. You're going to enjoy it. Let's go now. Okay, so basically, I wanted to do a podcast this week because I did a post in the week on Instagram about the best ever centre-back. Michael ain't on Instagram, but I send him most of the stuff and he sees most of the stuff on my WhatsApp and he will comment and have his input. And it's always a little bit interesting. But but I wanted to, because with these type of questions, who's the best ever? Who's the best in the Premier League ever? World class. What is it that determines what's the best ever? Now, I have my own set of rules when I'm looking at that, which I can say, yeah, I think this player is the best ever. But what do you lot reckon is the best ever? Or, yeah, why is somebody the best ever?
Who's going first?
All right. Let me put my piece.
Go on, Rich.
I'll say a quick piece. So for me, when you say the best ever, for everyone, it's always subjective, right?
Yeah.
So for everyone, it's an opinion. And if you're going to look at attributes where you're going to break it down to, you know, if it was the defender one, whether it's technical ability or aerial, how good they are in the air or pace or whatever, it's different types of opinions. So for me, you know, what I look for when I want to decide who's the best ever is, you know, what have they won? I like to see a player who's won trophies, you know, to be considered. I like to know that a player's got individual accolades, because obviously the team can let a player down. The individual accolades is also really important for me. And the third thing is other players' opinions and other managers' opinions. You know, the professionals in the game, the people that they're playing against. And then I'll take all that into account, as long as my own opinion and you know, what I see with my own eyes on football. And then I just decide, you know, from that. But I think to have tangibles is really important. Otherwise, you can throw any name in a hat.
So, Rich, just you say that, yeah, Rich.
Go on.
Sorry, Lou, go on.
No, I was just going to say, Rich, who did you pick for the best ever centre-back, Premier League centre-backs?
So it's funny, yeah. I picked Rio Ferdinand and John Terry, yeah. But when I did a bit more research, today, and you wouldn't believe how good Nemanja Vidic was in terms of accolades that he won and what he done individually during his time in the Premier League. I didn't realise how dominant he was, and also Tony Adams as well. So it's really difficult to take any of those other two players out, Rio Ferdinand and John Terry. But players like Vidic, I think, you know, you wouldn't be crazy for putting him in there. And someone like Tony Adams. And there's a lot of other players that can be considered as well. But those are the two I went for.
Okay. So if I was to go over to Liam now, beer culture London, what do you reckon makes up the best players, the best ever player, and who did you pick?
I picked Rio Ferdinand and Van Dijk. See, I was just going to say in response to Richard's point about accolades. Joleon Lescott, for example, was won the Premier League, right? But you wouldn't put him down as being a better defender than Virgil Van Dijk, who's not won the Premier League. You know, so when you look at accolades, you've got to look at the team that some of these players have played in. Yeah, I personally, for me, it goes down to their actual ability as a defender. So number one, in one-on-one situations, are they going to get skinned and turned every single time? Can they organise and lead a back line? Can they head a ball, pass a ball? Have they got a turn of foot to be able to chase back and cover? What's the reading of their game, of the game like? So the reason I picked Rio Ferdinand, yes, accolades-wise, top draw. But in terms of attribute-wise, it wasn't until later in his career when you started to see him starting to flounder. And we could probably handpick the games where we saw him get toasted. Craig Bellamy, Gareth Bale, and probably Ronaldo on the hat-trick. Yeah, but they're hand-picking games, you know what I'm saying?
Messi in the Champions League final as well, getting out jumped by a midget.
That's one of the best midgets of all time, though.
And getting relegated with Leeds.
Yeah, but that's ages ago. Yeah, he was.
You wouldn't get John Terry wouldn't get relegated in any team.
Okay, but would John Terry? All right, so hear me out. Would John Terry go to Tottenham at the time Ledley King was there and do what Ledley King did?
He didn't win anything with Ledley King.
Hold on. Is it always about what you won? Because if so, I'm gonna throw Joleon Lescott and then man there into the mix because
it's not always about winning stuff. But for you, I don't think anybody would ever try and like put Joleon Lescott in any kind of argument. So for me, Ledley King's a good Premier League defender. That's about it.
You see, so Mike, who's your two picks, Mike? Who are your two picks?
The second one's kind of difficult for me still, but I think John Terry's hands down easily the best Premier League defender ever. Easily, like for me as well, is like for me because obviously I always go on football and based on what I've actually watched as well. So I saw where you had your team, and you had like Beckenbauer and all those kind of people in there as well. And I think that's people that are just going basically off stats because I don't know if you know anyone that's old enough to have sat down and watched Franz Beckenbauer playing. But for me, John Terry's the best defender I've seen play as a centre-back. So even outside of the Premier League, like what he's done in terms of games, like putting his neck on the line, like scoring important goals and all of that. And even when you talk about like Rio Ferdinand towards the end of his career getting skinned, I don't remember that for John Terry even towards the end of his career as well. So for me, John Terry, in a big game as well, I remember him getting his head kicked off as well against Arsenal in a I think it was a Carling Cup final. Abu Dhabi had to kill him. And
Abu Dhabi, yeah, but John
and
Terry,
the guy just carries on like.
Yeah,
but
look,
John
Terry,
warrior.
John Terry is the warrior. Right? He's always been paired with intelligent defenders. He's always been paired with people who've got pace alongside him.
Gallas and Carvalho.
He had Gallas. He's had Carvalho, one of the best centre-backs ever.
The William Gallas that went Arsenal was sat down on the pitch at the end of the game balling and that, yeah?
Still a top draw centre-back.
Well, he didn't do nothing for Arsenal though, did he?
The thing is, with that Arsenal team, they should have won something, but they didn't.
But he didn't. It's like a Tottenham team with Gareth Bale or Harry Kane. Like, they ain't winning nothing in that. It's the same thing.
But he wasn't at Arsenal at his peak.
Who wasn't at Arsenal at their peak? Who, Gallas?
No. Gallas wasn't at his peak when he was at Arsenal.
How old was he?
I don't know.
I think he went to Arsenal when he's 28, 29. In terms of a defender, that's kind of like peak times.
I think he came as a side transfer for Ashley Cole. You know what I mean? It wasn't even
only because he fell out with Jose Mourinho, not because Chelsea thought he was crap.
But for me, look, I think John Terry is a great centre back. I just think I think John Terry's a great centre back. I just think that he was always paired with Rio Ferdinand, Carvalho, Gallas, loads of other players as well. So, like, I'm not taking anything away from Terry. I put him in my team, but to say he never got skinned or made any mistakes, no, a lot of the defenders that I've seen in the top that you put in that list, Leon, they've had great partnerships. You've had Vidic and Ferdinand. You know, they covered for each other. Terry Carvalho.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a few other players like Ledley King, you know, Jonathan Woodgate, even Paul McGrath, other players that could be in the mix, but just didn't have the teams around them.
Paul McGrath, 100%. I mean, you get individual
me,
standout players like that, and that's the sort of thing, Leon, in relation to your question, that I identify with as being a top class centre back. Some of those names that Richard said, like Paul McGrath, played in dead teams, played at clubs that weren't really punching at any sort of level, and they stood out and shown consistently that they are outstanding. And you could literally take personally, you could take Ledley King, Paul McGrath, put them into a Man United or Liverpool in their time, and they would still thrive. You got to remember, I know you said Ledley King was, Mike, you said Ledley King's a good Prem defender. But it's the same Ledley King that after playing sporadic games during the Premier League season, not being able to train, was then selected to the World Cup squad. And his first game, tasked to play DM to Mark Zinedine Zidane, and he had one of his best performances there. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, the attributes of a player dictate how great they are for me, and whether they could go off and play at any club. I don't know if Terry could. I don't know if you put Terry down a level, would he shine? I don't know.
I think he definitely would.
Good points there, boys. I think something for me that has to play a part when you're talking about the best the Premier League has ever seen, or if you're talking about the best ever, has to be longevity as well. So
longevity.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's something that I look at.
That's why I can't go with the Virgil Van Dijk thing, because I don't think it's been long enough.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was good at Southampton and that, but not like, obviously it's a different team, innit? So he's not going to look like he does at Liverpool. But
nobody looks at Rio's time really at Leeds or West Ham, do they? They're just looking at a snapshot as Man United. That's so with Virgil van Dijk, we can't really look at his Southampton form.
That's what I'm saying. So for the Liverpool thing, it's not been long enough to consider him like as a great. I don't believe anyway, personally.
Yeah, I agree. You can't put Virgil van Dijk in the hat. Yeah, like I was looking at his accolades he won last year, and he's won nearly everything. You know, PFA Player of the Year, he was in UEFA Teams of the Year, everything. I mean, he's had individually. You take that season on its own, it's probably the best season the centre backs had in England, just from the accolades been given to him personally and what we've seen. But he's still done it 1 year. Rio Ferdinand, 19 years in the Prem. John Terry, 19 years. You know, Sol Campbell, about 17 years. Tony Adams, about 18, 19 years. And this guy's done one, 2 seasons, and people are saying he's the best ever. Yeah. Come on.
Did any of them get nominated for a Ballon d'Or?
Well, no. None of them won it.
It's a question. Did any of them
they
get
didn't,
nominated
but then I
for
think that's an accolade thing, though, isn't it? Because Virgil van Dijk won the Champions League, didn't he? So I think you get the it's like you get more recognition based off of that. I think you get more recognition of the Champions League window.
But I'm throwing that in there because how long does a man need? The man was outstanding at Celtic, outstanding at Southampton. He's been at Liverpool, and he's literally transformed what was their Achilles heel in their team, which was a dodgy defence. He's come in single-handedly. Forget the partnerships. He's come in and said, "Listen, even with attacking fullbacks, I'm gonna lock this down." They go and win the Champions League. They were destined, I believe, to win the Premier League this year. Man's getting nominated for the Ballon d'Or. Does he need to do that every single season now for 10 years in order to be classed as one of the greats?
Not every single season, no, because Terry and that don't win the league every season. He didn't win the league every season, neither did Rio Ferdinand. So I don't think he has to do it every season, but I just think it needs to be over a more prolonged period. I just feel like the Van Dijk thing it's a bit of a hype. Like, even like I got friends that are Liverpool fans that tell me Mo Salah's better than Thierry Henry and that, just based off the last like 2 years and that. I just can't. It's crazy.
But again, but the thing is, I think when the Virgil van Dijk thing, Lee, if we're going on, if I was struggling to put a list of like 10 great defenders together, then a player that comes in and has blitzed things, you can say, yeah, he's the best ever. But I think that's disrespectful to all of those defenders that we're talking about. Your Sol Campbells, your Tony Adams, Rio Ferdinand, Vidic, all of these men who have actually done bits for years. Not 1 season, 2 seasons.
I hear that.
For years.
Yeah.
For this guy to come in and he showed quality, he's got accolades and everything, but to only do it for 1-2 years, to then say that's better than what my man did for 10 years in the Premier League, I think for me personally, I think is ludicrous.
You know what though? But then if we're going on accolade flex, I hear that. But if you're going on attributes, what you tell me, if you were to just lay down the attributes of a defender between John Terry and Virgil van Dijk, the attributes, what makes Terry such a standout, and what makes Van Dijk such an outrageous shout? But I personally think as a whole package of a defender, Van Dijk's better.
One second. Sorry, Rich. This is where I wanted to have this conversation, because I think everybody judges things differently, because people will have their different criteria.
Sorry to cut you there. So next season, if Liverpool finish like 7th or something like that, then what happens then? We still keeping Van Dijk in there just based on the last 2 years and that he won the. Or he got nominated for
why not? Why not? As you said, Rio Ferdinand didn't win the league every single year.
But they were there and thereabouts anyway. And like you said, he didn't really start falling off until towards the end. Obviously, the part of Liverpool has been their fantastic defence, innit? Like, they score a lot of goals, but they got great defence as well. So next season, if they finish like 7th, 8th in the league, it will probably be because the defence isn't performing to the same level as it was before. So we can try and predict the future, but based on the information we've got, the 2 seasons Van Dijk's been here, he's been world class on a European stage at the biggest stage. Yeah, but if he was all of a sudden top 10 list, it's a bit mad for me.
Why?
Well, maybe you can get in the top 10, but you can't. I don't think he can be considered as a 1 or a 2 or even.
Okay, so tell me this. But that's the thing then. Why? So you've got to be playing at the top level, in one of the top teams that's winning things for a long period of time. Is that your criteria?
It forms part of my criteria, but I was actually going to say when I get to the longevity thing, longevity, like for me, Ryan Giggs is the most overrated Premier League player of all time.
He was going to say that.
Like, the guy played for 22 seasons, innit? Like, I'm not talking about me being mediocre for a very long time and then someone saying you're great. I'm talking about being at a top level for a sustained period of time. Like, so that's why for me, when people talk to me about Ryan Giggs, I'm like, no. Just playing for 20 odd years don't make you a legend. No, it doesn't. To me anyway, like. And when you look at his record,
I think it does make you a legend in some ways. You do.
It makes you maybe a legend for fitness, for being fit.
20 years at the top level.
I think that's harsh on Giggs, man.
You're saying at the top level, top club in England, 20 years don't make you a legend. It does. It does.
Well, it don't make you one of the best players in the Premier League, though.
He is one of the best players who's ever played in the Premier League.
No.
All right. So go based on the
best. He's one of the best. I can't believe you could.
Based on what?
But Mike, based on the fact that you were talking and throwing out John Terry's accolades, you tell me something Ryan Giggs ain't won then.
Okay, I'm not, but I didn't say only accolades. I'm talking about being at a top level for a long time. For me,
he won at top level at Man United for. Come on now.
Okay, so Ryan Giggs, just so you know, because obviously I don't like to say things without having facts, because I saw that when they put up something about the Drogba and Van Persie thing, and then said to me that people were saying he's crazy for even doubting that, and I said to him, well, Van Persie's got a better goal scoring record. So let's go on facts and numbers, right? So Ryan Giggs played for 22 seasons for Man United in the Premier League, Do you guys know how many times he scored more than 10 goals in the Premier League?
It was different then.
22 seasons.
Yeah, but it was different. It was different.
2.
But go on, give us the answer.
2 times. 2 seasons.
How many times did hold on, hang on. Yeah. How many times did Jermaine Defoe score 20 goals as a Premier League striker?
I don't know.
You don't know? None. Not for Spurs, he didn't. No, and his whole time there, he didn't score over 20 goals.
Okay, that's fine.
So that's 20 Premier League goals. Now, Ryan Giggs I'd like to know his assist numbers.
Okay,
because he's a winner and a creative player. I'd like to know that
over goals. He's got the most assists in the Premier League.
Yeah, because he played the most games and he played for 22 years.
Depends how you look at that.
He's got 109 assists. And how many times did he get more than? How many times did he get more than 10 assists in the season?
That's a good question. I'd like to know
that
is a good question.
Six
times.
Do you know in the 99? How many games in the 1999 treble-winning season? Obviously, he scored the goal against Arsenal, so I think that's part of the reason why he gets the folklore that he does.
By the way, one of the best goals.
But you know that he played less games than he played the same amount of games as Jasper Blomqvist in that season.
But this is the thing, Mike. That 99 season, that was when Fergie introduced the rotation business. Like that what we won there was a squad effort. It wasn't down to one player. Everybody played games then.
He played less games in that season than Nicky Butt.
If that's down to injury or what, I can't remember exactly why. But
hold on. So what's the point though with those stats? What are you trying to say? That
I'm trying to say that, man. I'm mad to say that longevity is not always the key to things. I'm saying like you can't, like Van Dijk, if he stays for a couple more years at the same level, I'd say definitely he gets into that 1, 2, 3. You know, for me, that's what I'm saying on the longevity thing. Ryan Giggs, for me, is just someone that played football for a really long time.
I can't believe that. That's a massive disrespect.
What? You know what? This is probably for another.
Its numbers don't lie to you, though, innit? Raheem Sterling has played 250 games.
What about Paul Scholes and his numbers?
Yeah, legend though.
Yeah, but what's his numbers? What's his goals? Did he get over 10 goals in
I don't have Paul Scholes' stats because I don't ever try and fire at Paul Scholes. I just think the guy's.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying it because he's another player that in the Man United squad, he's been there for a long period of time. Been in the game for time. Yeah, I'd like to know his stats.
They'd be interesting, but for me as well, because I feel like players in England get overrated by the English media a lot as well,
I agree with you. I agree.
So for me, like a kind of a sign of when you can see that someone's at a level is when somebody in another country wants to buy them. Paul Scholes, like you people like Xavi, Iniesta, they talk about Paul Scholes in that in a world class type bracket. Like Steven Gerrard, right? Real Madrid wanted to buy Steven Gerrard and people like that, innit? It's like when people talk about Roy Keane, I'm like, he's a great leader in that, but he was never linked with like going to Inter Milan.
Who wanted to buy John Terry?
To be honest, no one. I don't think actually. I don't remember.
I'm just saying, like, I swear Barcelona wanted Ledley King, and they wanted Inter Milan AC wanted Sol Campbell.
Did they? Did they want Ledley King? Yeah. I don't remember.
But his knees, innit? He had a bad knee. So
I don't remember them wanting Ledley King though.
Michael, Juventus wanted Ryan Giggs. Juventus and Inter Milan in the 90s, they were trying to get Ryan Giggs when he was coming up. So I don't know how you dismissed that part.
Well, I don't remember that. I can only go on what I remember.
You gotta get them stats, Mike, man. You gotta get them stats.
I gotta get them stats, but I got the Ryan Giggs stats, and I also know that Raheem Sterling has scored 77 goals in 250 games. So he's coming for Giggsy in the next probably 100 or so games, mate.
One's the left mid, one's the left winger. So one plays up front a lot of the time as well.
Okay, cool. Maybe still.
I think the older era compared to the new era is totally different in terms of numbers. I think if you even go back and check somebody like Gerrard's numbers, they don't compare to the numbers like your KDBs are putting up now and them type of man. It's just not comparable. But I do get the point. This is why it just depends on what you judge. Like if longevity is that you don't think because of these reasons that Mike is saying is valid, then if Lee, you're talking about attributes and everything like that, then it's
100% for me. Yeah,
you're talking about accolades and stuff. It's all valid. Everybody just has their different thing. It's the same with the world class. You know what I mean? Is what makes a world class. Everybody has their different criteria. Do you know what I mean? Once upon a time, I've heard is if you're the top 5 in your position, top 2 in your position in the world, like what makes somebody world class as well?
I think it's also your importance to your team as well. So like, would the team still win if you wasn't there, sort of thing?
So Rio spoke on that podcast the other day, and he said that he wanted to get to a point where he basically would, if he weren't there, then the team would suffer. He wanted to get to that point, and he got to that point where if he weren't there, then the team will suffer. So I also think that's important, is your importance to a team.
Well, based on Ryan Giggs' numbers, I think Man United would have been okay without him. They wouldn't have missed his 5-6 goals in each season.
I don't know,
back
man.
Then, people used to play 4-4-2, so the wingers weren't scoring as many goals. You know, it's 2 strikers up top. The game's changed a bit. I think it's a bit out of order.
Richard, like Freddie Ljungberg has a better goal scoring ratio in the Premier League. Didn't play as many games than that, but he's got a better goal scoring ratio.
But if you look at
Freddie Ljungberg better than Ryan Giggs?
That's a tough one to me.
See, this is the thing. Are you looking at Giggs as a goal scorer or a creator?
Well, he does. I just said that he only got 6 seasons where he got more than 10 assists. So what? He's just running up and down the wing.
He was the assist to the assist, isn't it? That's a big role, you know. Look at Luka Modric's stats in the Premier League. Yeah? His numbers weren't great, but I think we'd all agree that Luka Modric was a bad boy. In fact, even if you don't agree, Real Madrid.
Well, the thing is, that's where you talk about being systematically important to your team. Because I think Tottenham would have struggled without Luka Modric in the team, regardless of what the numbers.
100.
That's like Steven Gerrard, isn't it? The numbers might not be there, but we know without Gerrard in the team, Liverpool were not as good as when he's in the team. So that's
could that be said? Could an element of that? I mean, I suppose we're branching off from the centre back topic, but could that not be said in the terms of Ryan Giggs?
No, I think they would have been all right. I think they would have been okay.
Who's your other left winger at the time, Lee?
Jasper Blomqvist.
Over the years.
Over the years, Ryan Giggs was the main man, innit? He played.
Lee Sharp at the beginning. They were like the little
Andrei Kanchelskis.
Kanchelskis, bad boy. Come on.
Kanchelskis was playing on the right.
One of the fastest Eastern Europeans I've ever seen, boy. Him and Shevchenko.
He's a bad boy, like, come on, like, Kanchelskis. Karol Poborski, yeah. Hard as well.
Listen. Remember the scoop?
Poborski was proper.
Yeah.
You mash up your school shoes in the playground trying to do that scoop, innit?
I'll go with all of them ones. The Giggs one, I'm just like...
Can I say something as well? Ryan Giggs also changed his game completely and became a centre midfielder towards the end of his career when he got the PFA Player of the Year. I mean, his footballing intelligence was unreal. And he changed from a person who had complete pace, he used to pace and tricky to beat a person, to he's changed to a deeper role where he was creating things for other players. And he adapted his game. When Cristiano Ronaldo went there, I think it was Tevez and Berbatov, he just sat back and just knew what to do with the ball. Ryan Giggs is a legend in my eyes.
I think the PFA award was like a sympathy thing. They're like, man's played a long time, you know. Man needs to give him something. Another one, yeah. How many times do you think in his 22 seasons that he won Player of the Month?
Ooh, good question.
Mike, this ain't fair though, because you've come with stats specifically.
No, I know, but I'm asking you, how many times did he get Player of the Month in 22 seasons?
Mike came with bare shade for Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, man.
Free smoke for Giggs.
He's meant to be set up.
Because man tried to tell me that Ryan Giggs is better than Robert Pires. And I was like... It's
very difficult though. It's not straightforward because Perez hit better heights. I love Robert Perez. Robert Perez is one of my favourite Arsenal players. Yeah. But he did it for a shorter space of time. Ryan Giggs has stayed there for 20 years.
But that's what we're saying though. We can't go on like just being there for 20 years. It's got to be a certain thing. Like, so how many times do you think he won Player of the Month? Like in 22 seasons?
I don't know how many times. But
just guess.
All right,
2.
Yeah, 2.
Hey.
2 times.
But
hold on. All right.
How many times did Robert Pires win Player of the Month?
I'll tell you right now, mate.
Go on then, mate.
Did Ryan Giggs, he was competing in a team where he always had superstars.
Yeah.
Always had superstars.
I think that's what's being overlooked.
But that's what I'm saying though, systematically importance to the team though.
But
so going back to the
important.
Centre-backs.
Everybody was
going
important.
Back to the centre-backs. That's where my point and Richard's point about William Gallas and Roberto Carvalho for Chelsea. They systematically, their importance in the team just contributed to that back line. You know, they supported and propped up a lot of what John Terry was doing. He was the ball winner, the die-hard, the leader, outstanding centre-back. But at the same time, you take away Carvalho and Gallas at any one of those periods, I don't think Terry's half the player that he is.
Yeah, and it's the same with,
I agree
as well.
Absolutely.
With Vidic, but then again, that also comes back to another point that I make is the best players generally play in the best teams. So you naturally have good players around you to make you look better.
I don't know though, because I thought this might come up. I looked at like players that have like played for shit teams or not so good teams, because you got to remember the Premier League.
Yeah,
I knew you. That's why you've been saying this, because you want to say Gareth Bale's like in the top 3 in that as well, isn't it?
Oh, no, we ain't talking about Bale, man. Leave Gareth alone.
So like you got Matt Letizia,
baller.
yeah, one club man and that. Alan Shearer, Premier League top goal scorer of all time.
No one can question Shearer,
jack shit.
Won the Premier League.
Oh,
Yeah,
Blackburn, Blackburn before going Newcastle, but at Newcastle,
rub that stat out.
No, but he didn't win anything other than one Premier League title with Blackburn.
But he's got the individual accolades.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I believe he is. I'm saying that he is a great, but he just didn't win enough stuff. So that's where the accolade thing kind of doesn't really tally up for me.
I agree on the accolades.
The individual accolades you can still get no matter where you're playing for. So Alan Shearer, even though he was at Newcastle and wasn't winning trophies, everyone still acknowledged
the numbers.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you, because Leon was basically saying though the top players normally are at the top clubs, and I'm saying that's not always the case. So if you look at people like Matt Letizia and Alan Shearer, that definitely wasn't the case in that.
But again, sometimes you got to be careful with that, because Kevin Phillips scored a mad number of goals one season. You know what I mean?
That's like a Van Dijk thing, isn't it?
Oh, get out of here, man. Come on.
That's the equivalent of Virgil Van Dijk defending
I never saw Kevin Phillips on stage with Ronaldo and Messi being nominated for the Ballon d'Or.
Because he didn't win the Champions League. He just got relegated with Sunderland.
So why weren't Mo Salah? Why weren't Mo Salah, Mane, and all of them, man? Why weren't they
got nominated? They were nominated. They didn't win it.
But not top 3.
Yeah, because you got Ronaldo and Messi about in it. It's like a bit different.
Yeah, but why was Van Dijk the one Liverpool man?
Yeah, but Van Dijk has done it. I agree with you, Lee, but it goes back to my point. He's only done it for one season at that level. And if I'm just going to take one isolated season, I can't put him up there with the other defenders. If Van Dijk had doing what he's doing, can I finish? If Van Dijk had been doing what he done last season for maybe 3 or 4 years, I'd say put him up the top, because that season was unbelievable. Yeah. And what I saw last year, I thought this centre-back's unreal. But
there was a game against Tottenham, I think, when he was 2 against 1? I think it was Song and someone else.
Yeah.
And he done that. He just done that mad thing. He was just like, and he didn't they both got shook.
So that there, go on, Rich, carry on. Sorry, finish your point.
I was going to say one thing just before that, I'll let you jump in, that no one went round Virgil van Dijk for like a year and a half or something. I mean, what sort of thing's that? So I agree, he's been unbelievable. Just let him do it for a bit longer before you start putting him ahead of Rio Ferdinand, Vidic, Company, Adams,
Ledley King.
20 years.
See, we've not even talked about Company. Company got like 5 votes. Company.
That's because no one supports Man City that we know. And a lot of people just vote based on their team, innit? Like, we've got to be real with this. Like,
Ledley King got 12 votes. Ledley King was like
it's a lot of Tottenham, man. All right, Lee. So my point on some of the reasons why I put a man like Van Dijk at the top, is because it's not, for me, it's not about longevity. It's not about accolades. Looking at a defender and having the privilege of seeing some of these players live, a man like Van Dijk or Ledley King, they're doing things where they're coming up against players, strikers in their prime and locking them up. Like, you can't beat these players. You think back to a man like Des Walker. They used to sing a song, "You'll never beat Des Walker." Yeah, played at Nottingham Forest, one away team at the time. You could not beat the man. Yeah, so defensively, what more do you need? Do you know what I'm saying? You think about Jaap Stam. Jaap Stam, for me, attribute-wise, had absolutely everything. He had the pace. He was a bully. He could head everything. He could play. You know, so they're the sorts of things that I look at when I judge a player. So when I line up all the Premier League defenders, like I said about the comparison between John Terry and Virgil van Dijk. Terry, world-class defender, top draw, but he lacks in certain areas that Van Dijk has over him. Plus, Van Dijk has the attributes that I believe Terry has as well. example.
You know, one thing that I want to say.
Go
on.
Is when you look at when you go on the attributes thing, it gets murky because
it does.
Because when it like
certain man can't run in that anyway.
Yeah, like look, if we were to be honest, I've always said this. If we were to be honest, I'm sorry to bring these two up, but if we were to be honest and list all the attributes of a footballer, and you put Messi and Ronaldo in attributes 10 out of 10 times. There's no way that you can list more attributes for Messi in favor of Messi than Ronaldo. But most people say that Messi is better than Ronaldo. Do you get what I'm saying? So nobody really takes the attributes thing into consideration. They're looking at output over a consistent period of time is what I like to judge things on.
I hear you on that, Lee. I think it's easier to do it with centre backs because I think it's easier to do it with centre backs than it would be in a case of Ronaldo and Messi. Slightly different positions and all the rest of it.
I think then sometimes it can just be someone being more athletic. Because for me, John Terry's never really been a sprinter, even when he was younger and that. But I still just don't remember him getting bent up too many times. And I remember like big games, like remember those big Champions League games when like Chelsea are going out there and they're just shutting up shop. They're just dead. They're just like, you're not going to score. That's it. Like they did that for a long time. Like just parking the bus and that's it.
But you know what the funny thing is? If I was going to take attributes the way Liam's described them, I'd say Tony Adams is better than John Terry. You know, because he was an old school defender. He knew how to. He was never getting skinned. He was part of the best back line that I've seen in the Premier League. Or I mean, I want to be a bit biased to the Arsenal back line, where all we had to do was score one goal and it was 1-0 to the Arsenal. We sang it because we knew you weren't scoring.
I'd agree with you on that. Tony Adams
he came with his hand in the air. It was unreal. And Tony Adams was probably the best centre-back I've seen.
Yeah, man. So there you have it. There you have it. Don't even tell me that weren't enjoyable. Don't tell me you don't want part 2. You're lying if you say you don't. You're lying. Yeah, man. If you made it this far, please, as I said before, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Give us a like. Pass on to your friends. We're working on trying to get part 2 out, man. It was really good. As I said, if you made it this far, you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you for watching, though. I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate you listening. If you're listening on the audio, please pass on to your people. And yeah, as I said, I'm hoping to get the next part out. And if not, then just stay tuned for when we come through again with episode 34. Until the next time, or until part 2, I'm out. Bless.